It was 83. So it was about almost 38 years ago that I found a patch in my right arm. And uh, I ignored it because I was very young. I was about 20 years old then. And life was happening, but then it began to grow. And even then, I didn't make much of it. I thought sometimes, you probably some kind of reaction or whatever. And then when my hand began to kind of turn weak, the little finger and the finger next to the ring finger began to like kind of curl, inwards. So I was carrying a bag. I'd gone out shopping with my mom and I had some vegetable bag and I kind of dropped the bag. So I told my mom that I have some weakness and she saw his fingers turned a little weird looking. And there was a doctor, a family friend who came home and he kind of knew without even diagnosis. He understood and he asked me to go to so-and-so doctor who would do a diagnosis. And they took a biopsy of my skin. And at that time, I thought I'd be as being brave. I was young. So it's like you make up, your own empowering interpretations. So for me, it was like I'm an army officer's daughter. So I'm very brave. I'm an athlete. So when I came back home, something struck me that I had not connected my condition with leprosy at all, because I have not seen anybody with leprosy. I have not met anyone. I've only seen people in India in the temples. Many of the people who beg with leprosy, they are people with no fingers and no toes, and they are on a kind of a wheel cart. And they sit outside the temple, and people don't look at them. They just throw coins. That's how it is. I haven't even done that. I haven't even looked at a person with leprosy. Like I'm so scared. So I don't look that side at all. I didn't make anything of much of them. And I kind of started thinking that could this be leprosy, because I had no sensation. So I did the next thing. I went to the central library. I picked the book and I went to alphabet L. I began to flip. I read it. And there was an ant crawling sensation, the clawing, the color, the pink that turns a little bit, shining. Everything was like ditto. And I just knew that I had leprosy. So I remember the walk back home was very heavy. I don't know how I reached home. I didn't want to reach home, but I had to reach home. I had not known where to go. But I experienced a disconnect with the world at that point of time. And I always wondered how come, without knowing about leprosy, how come I experienced that disconnect? I felt the rest of the world was on one side and was on the other side. That was my first experience. And then the result, my family knew. But I came to know before they broke the news to me. And my sister, my older sister, she was very supportive. And my whole family was very supportive. But then I got disconnected. Like I began to observe my life, like happening, like people, the disease took control of my life. Then my family's love took control of my life. I could no longer be mean, nasty, naughty. Everything got wiped out. I just was my disease. Yeah, very, very long. And I always, as a person looking at myself as a subject, I found that very interesting, that how come and why. Say, for example, if my family discriminated against me, if I was no longer allowed to sit on the table with them to eat, or if those experiences created the issue, or the issue of mental health, it would have had some kind of logic. But this beat logic. I had nothing to do with leprosy, and I have this disease now, and I have these emotions. Maybe I've gone into a kind of a fast lane into depression or whatever you call, but I'm like, thinking half thoughts, but not having any logical thinking is not, something else has taken over me. And then, I'm doing things like putting my clothes away so that my clothes should be washed separately, kind of. But then my sister comes and mixes it with everybody's. Then my sister comes and eats from my plate to show that it's okay. Right. And if I stay in the bathroom for a little longer, she knocks on the door, like pretending she wants to use the bathroom. And I began to, lose interest in things that mattered to me before. Earlier, it mattered to me to, I want to go to the US, do my post-graduation, and then or something, some kind of qualification, extra qualification. And then I wanted to, live there. I wanted to get married and have a flashy car. I had all those typical thinking. And then I remembered it no longer mattered. I distinctly remembered that I looked at people, going past, driving cars, people shopping. And it didn't make sense to me why people are shopping. It didn't make sense to me why people want to, have great jobs or good salary. It kept coming to me like, what's the meaning of all this? Now, I wasn't diagnosed with any mental health or depression, whatever. But then many years later, I recognized that whatever I was going through as a condition, I began to experience, a sense of guilt. Like everything started revolving around me and the house. My younger sister was told to look after me. There was no more fight with me. Like, we could have a lot of quarrel about things, but there's a hush tone in the house that, we could do. So I think that kind of started bearing heavily on me. Like I felt guilty, about putting this situation onto my family. Absolutely, because my doctor and my family are the only ones who knew this. And my family was more than supportive. And I always wonder whether I could have been as generous as my sister. She had no clue about the disease. Of course, she would have read up later, but she was so generous, right? So I don't know from where it came. And it could also be that there were people with leprosy that were in the very periphery of society, whom I saw from the corner of my eye and didn't want to acknowledge. And then I became one of them. And so I remember going to the temple with my mother, and then I would kind of not look at them, but tell in my mind that, brother, I'm so sorry that I'm getting to live this life and you're on the road, like I felt I should have been there with them. So I was okay if my family had told me to leave. Maybe I would have been sad and very devastated. Maybe, I don't know. But I mean, I was prepared prepared for the fact that they may not want. That's little, I don't understand from where this could have come. It must definitely become a topic of research, I feel, because I don't know from where I decided this about myself. I do think I did pick up some kind of cue about that this disease is not an open disease from all these non-verbal communication happening around me. This conspiracy, this silence and secrecy. Firstly, with the doctor who diagnosed, I mean, he did not like look into my eyes, and he did not talk to me in a way that I'm normally used to being talked to. And my father and mother looked very sad, absolutely sad, devastated, maybe the right word. Somewhere the stigma exists among the medical fraternity, for sure. And I have enough, stories I've heard that it does exist. So there might be a certain cue, given to the patient that you're not any longer touchable. So the patient becomes like a specimen for many of these interactions. And then there's no conversation to the patient, it's about the patient. So all this makes the person know that they're not any longer normal. Something has gone off. So I think that kind of builds up. I think, firstly, letting them know that leprosy doesn't have to leave any, lifelong consequences. It can be a very simple disease. It can be very complicated. And the person needs to continue to strive for their well-being, take the action. So many a times I've heard a lot of talk where it's all about the blame, about the say the NGO working for the person with leprosy or the government. But I think the person with leprosy also has to take a lot of responsibility to be aware that they need to get treated properly. And if they don't get the right treatment, they need to have the freedom to move out of that treatment and seek treatment, physical support in terms of, it's a medical support, and also the mental health, like counseling, support, etc., till they experience being that sense of whole and completeness. Like in my case, my sister observed the doctor was treating me. It was a year of multiple drug therapy. The year 81, 82, 83 was when MDT had become reality. And this doctor was treating me with Dapsone, and my fingers, the problem continued to go over. It kind of started worsening. And my sister told my family that I think she's not being treated properly. This is not the right treatment. I've heard leprosy is really curable, and then we should take her to another doctor. So she was so proactive, and we went to the doctor who understood and was kind to me, spoke to me well, took care of me in so many ways. I think that second interaction with the medical side was very positive, though I was all broken inside. But I have very positive experience of the kind of conversation the doctor had with me. And I think the advice would be that the person is normal, and the person deserves proper medical care, and they should not hesitate to seek it. And today, being in the internet era where everything is online and access is available to even the least educated people, they should go online and find out if they don't know where to go, and seek support, and make sure that they are completely fine health wise, and continue to respect themselves, because just after a disease, it's a germ. It's nothing to do with a personal. They haven't done anything bad. So to have the confidence and to, get the proper treatment.